Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Haoajan Read Write Stores. My name is Sarbajit. Myself and my wife Mridula, we have opened up a very small, cozy bookstore where we are keeping, apart from books, which we are the publisher also as Haoajan publishers, as most of you know. Apart from that, we have created this space so that, keeping in mind 3 points basically. First, that we can display and sell our books from here. We can also have our own choice about the kind of books that we read and our friends like to read. So, we wanted other independent publishers also to keep their books over here. That is number 2. And number 3, we wanted to create a space where we can have a sort of very open dialogue. I mean, creative people who can come over here, exchange their thoughts, exchange their works, exchange their poetry or prose, whatever they write. And so, it is basically about that we have created. We work with 3 verticals basically. One is Haoajan Publishing, second is Haoajan Webzine. We have got a webzine, web magazine also, and the third one is this one. This we have recently started about 4 months back. So, I welcome you all. I welcome Kolkata Poetry Circle. This is I think this is the second one, if you see in that, and we have poet Gopal Lahiri, poet Aneek Chatterjee, poet Sharmila Ray as our guide, as our philosopher, and to created this concept. And this Kolkata Poet Circle is going to do major work in future. I believe in that. So, when Gopalda wanted to do this in our place, I said, yeah, please do it. Okay, most welcome. And so, that is how today's event has been organized. And we have most of you already know each other, and everybody is very creative and very unique in their own style of writing. Good poets, in fact. So, that is it basically, and I hand over the mic now to poet Gopal Lahiri.
Thank you, Sharmajit, for giving us this beautiful space. And I will just say a couple of things, that this is the second event organized by Kolkata Poetry Circle. The first one which we have had this in New Town, Happy Works, there's a small spaces there where we have done the first, I think few months back. And the second thing is that I will request all the poets here to limits the time 5 minutes, and if we see that there are certain more times left, then we can have another round. So, first round 5 minutes, and the poems, number of poems, you will decide how many poems you can read. So, the first poem today I will invite Mallika Bhaumik. She should start her reading.
Thank you, Gopalda, for the introduction. And so today I'll read my poem of White Skies and Dark Sorrows. So this poem I composed when there was a tremendous cyclone was about to hit Kolkata, and as usual it did not hit Kolkata with so much of ferocity. It went to our neighboring land, and there was a lot of rain since morning. So that was I remember the day when I wrote this. So here it is. Of white skies and dark sorrows. On days like this, when the weather forecast's prediction deflects and moves over to a neighboring land, leaving behind sheets of rain, the morning turns lazy, curled up in home, watching the greens in the veranda become lustrous, shiny, crystal drops hanging from their tips, bearing the weight of loss of a world that is always on a move. A whole day stretches and yawns, doodles haphazardly, dark lines on white paper. The face on the scribbling pad resembles the one in the mirror. A blue-veined grief runs across from one face to the other. An apostrophe hangs in disbelief. The fake Frida Kahlo stares back from the shelf. a lover's loss, flaps its wings on the windowsill. By late afternoon, a slice of the sky peeps into the room. The rain-washed city is a minstrel, singing songs of memory that has meandered and lost its track in the quagmire. No poems, no letters, no dates, no address linger as residue. Only the tingling of pain as a lone crow flies against a white, white sky. Thank you. A ritual of tea. Tea is a verb for us, a doing word. That's how I teach my younger students. The first cup and our vocabulary sprouts, filling up the awkward spaces of inertia, creating conversation over this and that, charting the course of the day for two people, boring, monotonous, who in their midlife have nothing more to share. Tea becomes a verb after a tiring day when we sit in front of the television. News channels, IPL, reality show grab our attention. As we take sips from our blue cups, removing the veil of wordless aridity till the ping-pong of words populate the room, and we exclaim, feel aghast, wonder, talk animatedly as to who would win, till our eyes dim, we retire to bed, sleep like two continents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mallika, for those beautiful poems, especially the first one, which has a white, white sky, and then the two continents you're talking about. Especially the ending of both the poems are very, very good. So now we'll move to Raja Chakraborty, one of our most popular poets here in Calcutta. So over to Raja, please.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Kolkata Poetry Circle and Haoajan for hosting this evening. My first poem is titled Pestanji. I was recently in Pune, so I had very fond memories of the old Iranian cafes, and so I was trying to locate one. So I came across this particular place, and when I was back in the hotel, so I wrote this poem. It's called Pestanji. In a Koregaon bylane, you will find Pestanji, sandwiched between a pub and a fine dining. A 1960s fan laboring overhead, Pestanji sits hunched at the counter, thick glasses parched over his beaked nose, sniffing the dhansak and memories. The pagri feta standing in for a chef's talk, Pestanji counts fingers, his favorite pastime of late. Venturing in, you will enter another world, far removed from the buzz of glitz and fusion. The menu, covered in a hazed cellophane like a newborn in a blanket, has not changed. Neither has the taste and warmth of love, still holding the recipes close to his heart that his mother taught him. Sitting down at a corner table, waiting for the dhansak and butter-dripped pav to arrive, you will slowly roll back to your childhood, suddenly yearning for the churanwala at your school gate. Time flies, and yet it does not. No. Thank you. I'll just run through the poems. The second one is called Bubbles. Goldfishes in a glass jar, much like congested alleyways. Not enough space to swim around, dark enough to kiss. They do the tango. Come face to face, lips pouting, sideways eyes watching for red flags, mastering the art of lip lock in water. You and I, in the midst of Broadway, hand in hand, eyes locked and shut, heads leaning over, warmth of exhaled breath, touching each other in fogged silence. We do not kiss. Cold lips blew from the glass now between us. We simply feed the fishes and watch with dead eyes. The goldfishes stare back in a silent sorry and kiss again. Cocooned in our glass jars, dreams go up in bubbles. shies of an unfinished affair, dissipating in hushed monochrome. Thank you. And the last one is titled, A Song Doesn't Happen in a Day. Actually, my nephew, my sister's son, he is writing lyrics, he is composing songs, he has formed a band. So he had asked for a song lyric, I had sent him one, and he told me, Mama, this is not a song lyric, this is a poem. So then I understood, like, songwriting is very difficult because it had to fit in with the meter of the music and, yeah. So it's a completely different art altogether. So that's how this poem came up. It's called A Song Doesn't Happen in a Day. If you have ever written a song, you will know it's like finding love. It may take a lifetime, may sleep through seasons before it wakes up. Absent-minded, you scratch at words. A cross-stitch here, a hemline there. Words are hard to come by when you need them most. To put them to tune, you travel in and out of your mind, be a waterfall, a bird, a roaring ocean, or maybe just listen to silence. The guitar riff you want may have to wait for winter, for the winds to howl to pitch through the cypress. Notes become your shadow, a shadow puzzle, one may say, jumbled grey pieces looking for love and a home. You are in a daydream, softly floating like a fallen leaf, trying to touch ground at the right spot, at the right time. But time is a felon, you surely know by now. And the arrangement? To find the perfect rhythm for two hearts to beat together, the drummer has to be God-sent. When the magic happens though, when love knocks on your door, you know that you are the song now, submerged in its own melody. Nothing else matters. Nothing ever did. Thank you.
Thank you, Raja, for three very beautiful poems. And regarding that Pestanji poems, which I am remembering about Mumbai, there is one Irani cafe which we used to visit sometime in South Bombay. So there also that ambience is very similar to what you have described. And the other two poems, regarding Raja's poem, actually I am following his poem since I think the first debut collection of Soup Bowl, I think. So what the poet says and what he doesn't say, I think both are very important in Raja's poem. So that is, whoever is reading his poetry, he can understand that silence part is also very important. Now we move to Amanita, and she is also a very wonderful poet. And Amanita, please come and read your poems.
Thank you, Kolkata Poetry Circle, for inviting me to read here in this beautiful bookstore, Haoajan Read and Write Store. I've come here before and I've come today and I feel so happy to be here. My first poem, this was about, I was very young then, freshly married, and I was in the hospital for some reason. Then there was a young girl who came there with a daughter of her own, and she told me, "Do you have a daughter?" And that's where I think the poem came from. Unborn daughter. Whipping up a conversation at the hospital lobby where the erotic state of body incites the vulnerable self, Ghazal, a young mother, asked, "Why didn't you have a daughter?" and added as an appendage 2 words, "like you." Not missing the tone of persuasion in her voice, like she could be my reprimanding kin, I laughed, a nervous laughter, mumbled something inaudibly, while envisioning a bundle in my arms. She disappeared for good, as would people in a public place, but not before leaving behind for me a tug at the heart for my unborn daughter, flawed to the core, forever a seeker, here not to arrive, but to plainly be a being like me. What you are not. This is the title of my next poem. You are not the body to touch, feel, warm up to look out for the shade to run into, to hide from the life's summery glare. You never were. You are not the summer that chars the skin till it breaks, scorch the throat till it begs for some water, that waits endlessly for the mercy of the rains. You never were. You are not the rains that swell, pour, cry, like there is no tomorrow, like it would flood the lands irrevocably, unkindly too. You never were. You are kind, like the soft light at daybreak, the drizzle nudging the plants towards a lively wakefulness. You are the consciousness morphing into a body only when I reach out for you on my own. This is the translated poem. This is a poem of our Bengali poet Joshadhara Rai Chaudhuri. I translated this poem suddenly when I saw on Facebook. Yes. 3 months following such deaths, I write a poem. 2.5 months following such deaths, I speak cautiously. My heart feels afflicted by the waves of sorrow. I let those subside calmly. To the planted spy, I give a sly leer. To the thing called suffering, I look with scorn. My mouth stays firmly shut whenever I need to shout. Each time the heart swells in pain, I wait till all of it is orderly again, and in these 2.5 months, my heart to resume to 250 grams of its former puny self. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanita, for your these beautiful poems. 3 poems, especially translation also was very, very good. And whenever I read Amanita, I feel that she turns the mundane things into meaningful, and that's poetry. So thank you, Amanita, for this. Now we'll move to Sutanuka, Professor Sutanuka. So we will listen to her. So Sutanuka, please.
Thank you, Kolkata Poetry Circle and Haoajan for this invite and for this gifting me this wonderful evening. Though this is winter, I'll start with monsoon. My mind, doubly wrapped with bubble wrap paper, neatly tucked in the trolley, gets stuck in the conveyor belt. After half an hour's wait, elbowing others, I finally gather it. It slips my wobbly hands and falls with a thud. As apprehended, it gets broken into 1,000 tiny pieces. Failing to put it together with the glue at my home, I bury it in my garden's earth and hold my fire for undyed clouds and crazy rains. Thank you. And now I quickly move on to my second poem. This is called Holding On. The heart of Kolkata, soaked in hot and cold water for yawns. The liver, slow cooked as in dampak, with bland tears, turmeric fears, kesar umbrages. The burnt charcoal heart, thick with centuries old history, float like coriander leaves in a copper cauldron where it holds on to the last bud of heron flowers. So this is my last poem. This is called Rest. I cannot climb the top. My knees refuse to shoulder me. I will miss the first rays of the sun. Will watch the sundown quietly from my room, Between walking and contemplating a walk, I have covered miles. Thank you.
Well, Sutanuka, thank you for very, very crisp poems, which is your very signature poems. All are like that. And I like that focus poems. So it's congratulations for 3 very, very nice poems. So now we'll move on to Nandini.
Okay, thank you Kolkata Poetry Circle for inviting me, especially Gopalda. So, and everyone present here. It's an honor for me, and I really love this cozy bookstore, Read and Write Store, a Haoajan initiative, and really feel good to be here. So recently I went on this UK trip, and I visited Grasmere. Wordsworth's Dove Cottage is there, and he had always been my inspiration. So being there in his place was a great feeling that I had, and so immediately, I don't know, while traveling I wrote a poem. So I would like to begin with that. I saw Wordsworth's footprints everywhere. Sing me a song, my Highland lass. I want to listen to your melodious voice as I walk by the dale so green. I have sunrise in my smile, sunshine in my hair, basking in the glory of Lord. I delight in his praises. My eyes travel as far as they can see. Is that you, my reaper, singing alone in the fields? Nature's music plays in the background. I hear whispers telling me about things of long ago. The beauty fills up my solitude. I move ahead with joy, forgetting my woes, to a land of romance, beauty, and harmony. How can I pass by gently without stirring my senses? I see Wordsworth's footprints everywhere, my magician of words standing in the field, calm and deep, not someone dull who I can ignore. He evokes within the spiritual and emotional spontaneity. Blind is the man who can't see him in his favorite spot. Sharpening the power of the human mind, I'm ready to lose my way in my magician's lyrical rhythm. Walk the path so enchanting and mesmerizing, and respond at ease in tranquility. Okay, I move on to my second poem. Come, walk into my heart. Winter haze has dropped a curtain over Earth's face. Slowly it gets lifted up. A new day dawns at the horizon. Sun-kissed mountains blush in multiple hues. Through my window, I can see the fields covered with frost. Looks pale and dry. Is that you standing under the oak tree in my garden? I was waiting to hear your footsteps the entire night. What took you so long? Come walk into my heart, touch my soul. My mind's eye is a palette of colors. Use it to paint my dreams. Let there be a blue stream flowing through the veils of love. I'll surge on its rapid waves. We can have laughter and joy for company. My woes can wait for a while. We will sing the winter song, erase all that's gone wrong. What are you waiting for? Come, walk into my heart. Can I read one more? Last one? Okay. This is called Poetry, My Solace in Distress. It was just yesterday when I met poetry. We became friends, fell in love with each other. We are full of words, and we whisper in one another's ears like kids. Play with consonants and syllables, and chatter, giggle with glee. My poetry doesn't judge me, allows me to be the person I am. We talk for hours, snuggle in each other's arms. Words play a beautiful song, nurture our emotions. We quietly enjoy the beauty outside the window, wonder beyond the horizon of time. As our thoughts rise and fall like the waves in the sea, our heartbeats create a brand new rhythm. There's silence, there's chaos, yet so beautiful and divine. We discover a new world of our own where poetry is my solace in distress and I give poetry a reason to shine. Thank you.
Thank you, Nandini, for your very vivid, very pictorial poems. And I really like the first poems, which is it near Lake District? Yeah. So thank you again. I see. Okay. So thank you very much for being here. And now we'll move to Aneek Chatterjee.
Thank you, Gopalda, and good evening to all of you. And as Gopalda said, this is the second program of Kolkata Poetry Circle. And we are happy to have this program at the Haoajan Wonderful Read and Write Store. So the first poem, I'll read all 3 poems, short poems from my latest book, Last Evening Was a River, published by Pen Prints. The first one is titled Desolate Walk. It's 3-liners. There are 6 sections. Desolate Walk. 1. Colors are smiling at me from the roadside. Could be flowers or you, a forgotten stone thinking. Had my dinner a few minutes back after a long soliloquy, a plate of memorabilia. 3. This winter, don't dig deep. Instead, search me inside the snow of your mind. 4. Together, watched a movie. Darkness gripped me, the screen, and reached every thread of the infractuous dream. 5. Roads are crowded today, but I am walking alone with a known stranger. 6. Sometimes ashes and snow look the same. One is burnt, the other's waiting to melt, perusing my actual address. Thank you. The second one is, if you visit me. If you want to visit me, you are welcome. It's summer. Windows are open. You can see pink flowers sending love signals to white. If you are lucky, you can see the yellow bird with a patch of blue around the neck. I don't know the name of the bird, but I have seen her a number of times. Many things I don't know in this world. The meaning of your smile, the squeezed eyebrows on your face, my much disliked expanding silence. If you visit me, you are welcome to relay love signals from white flowers. But please tell them to be able to penetrate your smile and my unbearable silence. And the third one is Rainwater Home. If I draw your attention to the fact that you are crying, you will discover the window and rainwater portraying home on the glass pane. Observable phenomena always remain hidden from us. How much do we actually see? Tears take the shape of home we had to abandon long ago amid rains. Since then, rainwater everywhere has sheltered me. And when they creep on glass panes, I look at you and I know you are crying. Let me desist from pointing out a hidden observation once more, because I am in clandestine tears too. Thank you.
Thank you, Aneek, for your very, very good poems. And I really love the way Aneek look at the life and describe that. That's I can't say that is very slant or oblique, but it is very, very unique and interesting, of course. So thank you, Aneek, again. And now we will move on to Sharmila.
Well, I'm very happy to be part of Kolkata Poetry Circle, and it's such a cozy feeling being in Haoajan Read and Write Store, and I thank Sarbajit and Mridula also. Well, when I look at my fellow poets, they are words. Without words, they are nothing, I feel, because you take out the words from them, then they become just like known nobodies. So this is my poem called Words. My thoughts are silent words. Your smile, a wide, beautiful word. Words breathe, words speak. Sometimes dust settles on words and they become heavy engravings on heart. But when words lose sound and become an ocean within us, then the secrets of the universe are told in whispers. My second poem is called The Jar. I have burnt 2 poems and photographed the fire. I treasured the melting alphabet, commas, full stops, and cinder. It was a notebook which I could read only with quiet nerves and intense desire. People wondered about the jar. Friends questioned what was so unique about it. I had no answer. I couldn't express it with my mind tongue. How could I explain that it contains words that were there before me, letters that would be born after me, a whole galaxy of alphabet, phrases, metaphors, known, unknown, discovered, yet to be grasped, a thick river of consciousness wafting over awareness and lilies. It's called You, My Poem. A poem is, of course, my lover. Oh, my poem, I try to create you, I undo you, you who wake me up, and stories of Shangri-La you bring to me. Vibrations of love, unprecedented laceration, and childlike smile are must if you have to be with your poem. Oh, my poem, your progressing hands rip open everything that I hide amongst layers of language, and I at last sink through 100 degrees of words and metaphors. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharmila, for your exquisite 3 poems. And we really don't have any answer to your the rendering, the text, and overall the impact of your poems. So again, we are very grateful that you are here. Now, Sarbajit, please read your poem. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Gopalda. I'll be reading 2 poems. The first one is titled An Evening to Eternity. An Evening to Eternity. You hard brushed the evening canvas with burnt amber and yellow of a rising moon. Old men are there, looked over balconies. You spray some viridian green and a hyacinth bud showed up. Finally, you splashed some deep rush of crimson lake, and everywhere lonesome lovers kissed, like yellow moonlight shivering on distant waters. You know, colors are primordial and live up to eternity. Thank you. This one is called The Color of Krishna and Draupadi. You said, everything divine grows in the dusk, she also said that. Is your divinity a bird flying back home? He said, smiling softly. Oh, a nest, you mean? She asked. We didn't see the dawn yesterday, did we? Or today, did we? He monologued. A cuckoo sings at night. She imagines color purple is her muse. So the hue turned to darker tones, like Krishna had, and like Draupadi had it too. This poem is called Pilgrims. Certainly someday they will find out this book while walking through the riddled roads of blood and dreams. Forlorn, desolate, they will sit down for a while to have their crumbs of bread and wine, and will think that only when a heart breaks, it learns to love. Who am I without exile? They will pick up this book, those sulking travelers, as they rise to walk on the roads of that pilgrim city, sleeping inside them. Thank you. Yeah, okay, now I welcome our very dear poet Gopal Lahiri, Gopalda, on stage to read her poems.
Thank you, Sarbajit, and of course, Sarbajit is our host today because Haoajan Read and Write Store, this is the first time we are reading poetry here. So my first poem is, title is Chandrabhaga. This Chandrabhaga we went last year, this year also we went, the last year in January we went, and this poem have written when poet Shekhar Banerjee was with me. We two together went to very early morning to the Chandrabhaga, that mystic river and the seashore, and this poem just born out of that. Chandrabhaga. Something like blurred images floating in a dream last night. This place is full of them on a misty morning. Water crosses the shoreline, splashes at times. It's time to drop my dry feet on the water. There, deep inside the sea. Their eyes are the lighthouse, their hands coral reef. The sun is hiding somewhere behind the clouds. Music flows below the sand sheets. If you listen well, you will hear it, the song of the mythical river Chandrabhaga. Oil lamps give a handful of metaphors to the pilgrims. The temple invites footprint of them on this auspicious day of Makar Sankranti. The fisherman colony lends voices to the wind. I know there are no painted boats around. All our shadows drop anchor on shores. I wait for the final resonance under another sky. This poem, it was written when I was in US. There is a place called Alpharetta. That's a town within Atlanta. There's a suburb, and it's mostly dominated by Indian people there. So one day we went there. The title is Evening in Alpharetta. Slowly the sun is descending on the glass of the crates and barrel. Flowers bloom on the roadside pots. The languor of glass and concrete explores the timeless art of living well in Alpharetta. All the shop windows and cafes count footsteps in the middle of others' conversation. You walk on tiny notes. I am a quiet listener behind the open door. At the end of your song, the rain starts. Someone picks up the rain threads, plucks the last line of your love song and runs away. This drizzle loosens like the string of a sitar. At the rain's edge, a hummingbird stops chirping. The empty chairs on the boulevard sigh. Your eyes become bleary. Memory is perhaps strong beyond the bone, where the yellow light meets the red corpuscles. This is a very scary poem. Eerie quiet. The whispers stop short, held and left hanging. All those street lights are off. Have you opened the door? The night is dense and dark. The answer this time will not be a shout. Inside the narrow living room, brick walls hung with abstract paintings and light bulbs hooded by vaguely laboratorial shades. Human skeletons on wooden spikes gather darkness in the underground dungeon. Coffee is still sparkling hot. The sugar crystal white teas at the far corner of the table. The ash plant fades in. Dish towels and napkins bleed red. The soft palm you caress and grasp, I can't feel that. It's only a cut near the throat. Are you really there?
Okay, so we move on to our next poet. She's a beautiful writer, both of poems as well as of prose. And let me welcome Sreetanwi Chakraborty to read her two poems.
Thank you, Kolkata Poetry Circle, Sarbajit Sarkar, Mridula Sarkar, and I am elated to be at the Haoajan Read and Write Store today to read my poems. So I'll be reading from Medusa Says It All, published by Red River in 2024, and I'll be reading two of my very small poems today. My first poem is Letterbox on the Boulevard. The post office on the boulevard houses celestial cubicles where letters come and go. Scribbled sobs and vendors of love weave marigold stories to reach out to the dead canal. The postman is Krishna, who plays his flute for the barber's voluptuous wife. He reads the letter from her husband during sordid twilights ridged with zarda stains. The letterbox stands beside the garbage vat and the magazine seller with cylindrical glass. Krishna peddles his way to women's associations, gifting them letters tied to rugby balls. During December mornings, when deodar leaves scatter the ground, the post office becomes alive, with Krishna summoning the spirit of Melusine to give him back his lost rubber stamp. I'll be reading the second poem, Edifices of Shadow. Edifices of shadow stood long on the drenched highways, some long ones visible on flaky plains, and a few short ones on the parched highland. Serrated, cropped shadows jostled for love. Bigot shadows remained in one crooked corner of the mountain, unmasking the heathen skin of the peaks. Some shadowy patches were marching in a straight line with placards in their mutilated hands, placards that spoke of blood-stained stoves and umbilical cords, exhausted daughters and wives with husky voices who disappeared and never returned. Amidst this shadowed tapestry, the last edifices found solace under the enduring branches of the Amaratva tree. Here they sorted cards from a myth-laden city scavenger's deck. Thank you.
Thank you, Gopalda, for your three poems. They are very different from what you read. They are obviously dense and dark, and it mixes with the red corpuscles of our blood. And it is lovely, warm, like dark coffee. It slowly slips into you, and then you're transformed into a magic land. You go there. So thank you for the three beautiful poems of yours. Well, it was a very beautiful gathering of fellow poets, and as I had said, I'm more interested in hearing them read and then having conversation with them. And to start with Mallika, she reminded, I'm very afraid of cyclones, and so her poem is not so frightening of a cyclone. Rather, it gives you a kind of not a desolation really, but some some place to stare and contemplate about a cyclone and what one should do, and one should try to look for a sunshine. And also Raja's poems, he's always very crisp and, with 2 words, 3 words, he just spin it around, and like he writes like, I know faces known. He will not say, I know faces unknown, like that. And they sort of bring out his way of seeing, possibly because he's in such a job which needs efficiency, smartness, and all that reflects in his poem. And Aneek's poems are always crisp, short, sharp, and those 3-liners are really beautiful. Those 3-liners make one big poem, and he talks about life, he goes inside life, and he sees a thing which we at this time of our life, at this age, we feel that, and so we hanker for a smile, for tears, and sometimes we are very ashamed to show that, and he brings out those little things that we hide, we don't want to show, we want to be a macho, and be it men, be it woman, and so that's in his poem. And Sutanuka is always very short. She writes very short poems, but those short poems really hit you, and the words that she chooses, her vocabulary is very crisp, and the words, as I said, the poets are about words. Without words, they are nothing. So her poems, which the words are there one after the other, and the crispness of her poems, which are sharp indeed, which, like before you can think, it's over, but after some time, it goes inside you and it sort of tickles you. Sarbajit's poems are about, like he's a painter, he talks about colors, and I remember first time when I met him, we were very much engrossed with, like I'm seeing here the picture of Italo Calvino, who is, one of my most favorite writers. And so Sarbajit also plays with all his poems, he talks about colors, and with colors he brings the characters in it. And Amanita's poems, obviously they are beautiful as always, and what she talked about an unborn daughter, hankering for a daughter, and so nicely put in. It's not a kind of a very blatantly, but there are layers within layers inside the poem, and you can rip open and get into that middle. And I'm just, and Nandini's poems, when she talked about, I was remembering Lucy, she talks about Grasmere and about the poems, the Wordsworth poems, and I was just picturing Lucy Gray, who is moving among the daffodils, her poems, and her poems are very picturesque, they sort of create mind landscapes. So altogether, and Gopalda, as I've again said it, his poems are very dark, dense, which gets inside your corpuscles, and they sort of, tickle you, and tickle you with that warm black coffee would do in our throat, that kind of a poem. So I'm so glad that I came here and I heard each and everyone talking, reading their poems, so brilliant, so different. It's like a Victorian quilt, all patches, one whole, but all of different colors, hues, melodies. Thank you so much.
I find Sharmila poems so beautiful. I've always admired her writings. It would probably be difficult for me to assess it in an unbiased way. I will be biased. She was mentioning Italo Calvino. I've always wondered if she has the kind of writing that Calvino had. Her poems always comes up with wonderful imageries. I can never imagine such imageries. and the metaphors also. They always hit you, not like a black coffee, but like a soothing, nice cappuccino that you would wish that it doesn't end for you.
So we had a beautiful and a very enchanting evening of poetry, and we heard each and every poet talking about, reciting about their creations in such a passionate way that the evening became very vibrant, the evening became very lively. So thank you all for coming, for joining us this evening at the Haoajan Read and Write Store for another round of poetry. We will be organizing such events off and on, and we hope to have your cooperation again and again. Thanks very much for coming, and personally I enjoyed each and every poem from all the poets present here, Mallika, Nandini, Raja, Gopalda, Sharmila Ray, Sutanuka, Amanita. Thank you for your brilliant poems, and thank you for coming. So we conclude this program. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mallika. Thank you, Mallika. Small but enough. Thank you. এসো মাঝে মাঝে চলে আসবে।
সত্যজিৎ রায় স্টাইলে আমাকে বললো কিছু।
This is for you. And Sreetanwi, thank you very much. আজকে আমাদের বুক স্টোরে তুমি আসার জন্য এতটা সময় স্পেন্ড করে, and that is token of love. Thank you. Okay. Thank you এবারে এটাকে। Thank you. Thank you Sharmila Ray. আমি যা কিছু বলি সুন্দর। Thank you Rajada.
Thank you so much.
Wish you a happy new year to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wish you the same.